I ask all of you, without regard to party, to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office of defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections. Restore trust in our institutions. And make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place. It's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do.
History is watching. It is and was a theme that President Joe Biden came back to again and again and again in last week's State of the Union address. A State of the Union that in many ways is a fork in the road for our great nation as Americans now face a choice over which path we're going to take. Whether to, as President Joe Biden put it in his speech, defend democracy or choose curtain number two, a very different path, one that could see our great nation backslide into autocracy. As former Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence Sue Gordon reminded us recently, 300 years for our democracy is not a guarantee. It is not promised. There's no contract on that. It is this existential choice that our nation faces that we've been examining in our new series, American Autocracy. It could happen here. And it's something that feels more urgent with each passing day. With Putin on the march and emboldened on the world stage, Viktor Orban getting a hero's welcome here in the U.S., especially at Mar-a-Lago. Even the specter of Hitler back in the news, thanks to Trump's praise of him. How will the American people meet this historic moment? In the words of President Joe Biden again, history is watching. Joining us at the table, U.S. Secretary of Transportation, member of President Joe Biden's cabinet, Pete Buttigieg. So I've said this behind your back. I'll say it to your face. You are not just the administration's most skilled communicator, but one of the most skilled communicators in our politics. And I wonder how you even bite at this mega, massive, huge idea of democracy and the very real universal concern that the roads we drive our kids on and the roads that our school buses travel on without any seatbelts on are safe and secure. How do you do what the president wants us to do and meet this moment while also talking to people where they are, which is worried about the bills, worried about the roads, worried about the schools?
Well, one thing I really appreciate about serving under President Biden's leadership is I think this whole administration revolves around an understanding about the relationship between these high-minded, almost cosmic things that we talk about, like the durability of our democracy.
Yeah.
And incredibly everyday things like filling in holes on the road, or making sure there's clean, safe water coming out of our pipes. And I think that's not an accident. One of the tests for any model of government is its capacity to deliver on the basics. And I don't think it's an accident that, for example, the last time it was really kind of acceptable or even fashionable in some circles of American society to talk approvingly about fascism, which is in the 20s and the 30s. Mm-hmm. One of the excuses they would make for people like Mussolini, dictators abroad, is, well, he makes the trains run on time. By the way, that wasn't true. We could talk about that another time.
It's never true because they don't care about the people taking the trains.
But they say that. The narrative is, that these more autocratic systems are somehow better able to deliver on the basics. The president often mentions, almost any time I'm in the room with him, especially early on when we were getting the infrastructure bill ready, anytime infrastructure came up, one of the first things he would immediately mention was Xi Jinping and talk about how China was seeking to create the impression that their top-down, command and control system was better able to deliver on things like infrastructure than our messy democratic system, and that getting this infrastructure bill passed would be a chance to prove them wrong. And I guess that's my real answer to your question, that in this moment, if we can deliver on the basics, have better roads and bridges, have better trains and transit and airports and ports and the rest of it, and a better economy and a better everyday life, that's part of how we validate the idea.
The system.
Because the truth is, democracy and the American system didn't win the ideological battle of the 20th century against the Soviet model just based on theoretical arguments alone. We won because there were far more people in the Soviet Union who wished they were living in the United States than the other way around. And that really does come back to how we deliver on those things that make everyday life better or worse, depending partly on the condition and the functionality of your federal government.
And this was Biden's bet all along, right? I mean, it started with shots, and then it was formula when that got screwed up by private industry. It's why you can now get more kinds of formula in the United States of America, as anyone with little kids knows. And it is crystallized probably most clearly in infrastructure. And Trump, when he controlled every branch of government, coveted an infrastructure bill all of his own. He wanted to do it because even Trump knew that you could cut a big fancy ribbon and stand in front of a road and a bridge and you could do it, and he failed. And I wonder how, President Biden invoked his predecessor 13 times in his State of the Union address. I wonder how you make this contrast clear that this is what's on the line. That road, that bridge, that Wi-Fi you suddenly have, those bars on the top of your phone, you didn't have those the last 4 years. You have them now.
Yeah, I think that was a good example of the contrast between bluster, saying you're going to deliver something, infrastructure week again and again and again with no results, which is what we experienced in the last administration, and actually delivering, which this president did and this administration did in our first year. Just this morning, I was in Philadelphia at a bridge, the Martin Luther King Bridge. I was at that same bridge a couple of years ago as we were just announcing the beginning of this infrastructure program. Now I was talking to the workers who are in the middle of actually rehabilitating that bridge. So that difference between talk and action, between bluster and results, is very much on display in what we have right now with this infrastructure package. And I would say the how matters, not just the what, but the how. So look at how it got done, because there is this fiction out there that the way to get things done, especially infrastructure, is to have a strong man come in, barking orders, and just, command and control, get it all done.
The Chinese way.
The Chinese way,
or the Orban way, or the pick your dictator.
Yeah,
Trump
which in some way also
Yeah.
rhymes with the last administration's kind of style, right? Except that didn't get anything done, and the president in a very democratic way. By the way, a democratic way that was messy. I mean, we really worked at the president's direction to get Republicans on board, and many of them did. We didn't do it by shoving it down anybody's throats. We got Republicans to come across the aisle. Not all of them, honestly, not even most of them, but many of them came to work with Democrats, work with me, work with the president, and get this thing done. So our messy democratic system did, in fact, deliver. That, I think, is one of the best answers we can have for this strongman fantasy, that's how you actually deliver results for people.
Tim Snyder, who wrote on tyranny and is now sort of a celebrity of this moment, but also super knowledgeable, talked about the problem with the strongman myth is that the people who can be persuaded to want the strongman are never the people that the strongman cares about. That once they're elected, they only care about other strongmen. And I wonder, as you're sort of out in the country, and you seem to value having some of these conversations on Fox News, where some of the people watching, maybe most, didn't vote for your boss. Why is it so important to try to reach people who are already persuaded that a strong man isn't such a bad thing?
Well, again, I think it's the difference between show and tell. So we're trying to show results, and whether I'm appearing somewhere on TV or whether we're out on the road, we're connecting that through in places that, yes, have forgotten, not only don't believe that a president of a certain party might care about them, but just don't believe that Washington cares about them at all. I've been to almost every state just since getting this job. And think about places like Chamberlain, South Dakota, this small town, maybe 2,500 people, but big enough it actually has an airport. And that airport really matters because they use it for air ambulance missions to fly people to the nearest hospital, which is a very long drive away. And their general aviation terminal it's a manufactured home. It's basically a double wide. They've made it work. But for years and years, they've been wanting to have an actual building, a modest request, but a very important one that they didn't have the funding to get done. We brought the funding to do that out of the very same program that is delivering funding to fix the notorious horseshoe roadway at LAX that can really tie you up when you're getting dropped off there.
Or if you have to go around.
And, when we were there, talking to these very practical-minded local and county officials who, I didn't ask what party they were from, didn't come up. I'm guessing maybe a different party than mine. It didn't matter, but the emotion and the passion that they had around this project and the fact that we were finally getting it done was everything. So when I'm in a place like that or Port Arthur in Texas or Tell City, Indiana. These places that have been overlooked again and again and again. It's another chance to show versus tell, not just to offer them resentment or talk a big game, but to actually get stuff done and have the receipts, literally.
Makes you feel any better? I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, when is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
The Megatron.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy, sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General! General! We need to evac immediately. Evac immediately. Hold on. National security evacuation.